So, as we start off this course, let's think about this quote here. All great leaders are readers. It doesn't say all great leaders are college graduates or geniuses or, I don't know, millionaires. It's all about learning and reading. And that's what I want you to be thinking about is whether you want to be a leader in a company or just a leader in a particular skill or a leader in a particular topic, you need to read to get there. You need to learn from other people, stand on their shoulders, and grow based on what they've already thought of and what they've already started. There's so much knowledge already out there. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. And that's what we're really focused on nonfiction is to learn what's already been kind of taught, what's out there already for you, and kind of grabbing that and then running with it and going with your own ideas. So that's what we're going to be talking about in this session is really how to be a leader in some area of your life. So, what do you specifically want to learn this summer? First off, you have to set a goal. And we're going to talk about different ways to set your goals, but let's get some ideas going. First of all, is there a new skill that you want to learn? Is there something, again, I talked about it originally, perhaps a language, or you want to learn about a culture, or maybe there's just, a hobby, bookmaking. Maybe there's a skill that you've really wanted to learn and you just always put it off. What's out there? And I want you to sit down after this session and brainstorm all the ideas out there that you can think of a skill that you might want to learn. Maybe you want to become a subject matter expert. And by subject matter, I mean, maybe there's a period in history that fascinates you, or maybe there's something, like I've seen on TV where there's a group that makes shields out of metal. So kind of you think about the medieval times where they were carrying these shields onto the battlefield, and these people are experts in how to craft the metal and how to make it strong and withstand, a blow. So those people are subject matter experts on shields. So if there's something out there that you would really love to be known as the go-to person, maybe it's the history of your area or the history of a particular battle. I mean, there's just so much to learn. If you go browsing through the library, you'll come up with thousands of ideas. So think about something that you really want to be known as the go-to person, the expert on it. And maybe you turn your knowledge into a blog on the topic, or maybe you help teach people on the topic. There's so much you can do with it, but kind of jot down ideas of what it is you would want to be known as the go-to person for. And I want to preface this that it needs to be something that can be learned from a book. So if you want to improve your horseback riding skills, that's probably not something you can learn from a book. You can learn a lot about the history of horseback riding or dressage, or you could learn about the history of breeds of horses or the evolution of horses, but you really can't learn about horsemanship unless you're on the back of a horse, right? So think about things that you can be learned from a book. There's so many leadership skills, management skills, I mean, the sky's the limit. If you just walk through the library, you'll get a million ideas. But again, I don't want you to think of something that's too hands-on. It can definitely have a hands-on component. So again, if you wanted to look at how to make your own books, you'd first do a lot of learning and reading to make sure you have the tools and materials, but then there's a lot of hands-on. So look at that mix of hands-on versus reading, because our focus with this challenge really isn't on the reading part and not so much the hands-on part. So I just want you to have that in mind. And lastly, I want you to think about all those things that are on that someday list. Is there a country you've always wanted to go to and it's kind of out there as a someday thing? Well, maybe this summer you can spend time learning about the history and the culture of that country. If they speak a different language, maybe you can learn about the language of that country so that that someday becomes a reality. But you feel like you have the knowledge and the skill to go to that country and be comfortable and know what places you want to see, understand their currency so you know how much you're spending on just the average items, but you don't feel like a total tourist. Maybe you have maybe you've learned how to use your camera to capture some great things in that country to bring back and teach other people. So really be thinking about what's out there on that someday list. Again, that can be learned from a book or mostly learned from a book with some hands-on application. So those are your ideas for the starting off your challenge. You're going to set a goal and then decide what you want to learn. And I suggest you jot down a bunch of ideas in both the skill area and the subject area, and also in that someday list. Jot down all the ideas you can think of. And maybe initially you won't think, hey, I can learn this from a book. But as you kind of think about it, maybe go visit your library, you'll start to see that maybe there are a lot of resources out there for you. And one last thing I do want to say is make sure that it's something that has some current books on it. You don't want to go to the library and find that all the books are really dated and you're not going to have a lot of knowledge that is applicable. So in the area of like computers, a lot of the books might be outdated before you even go to print on them. So just make sure that it's something that really can be learned well from a book. All right, that's enough for this section. Let's get into the next section.